Glen Burnie, Maryland.
Okay, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Kevin Blanch, this is Jill. Pancreatic cancer survivor. Still Jill. Bobby One, the famous vlogger, the guru vlogger, blogger.
Statistician.
Yeah. University of Chicago. Kevin Blanch here in D.C. We're talking about cancer and the early diagnosis of cancer with Jill and how the pathologist is so important in the early days of my cancer presented in a tumor leukemia, which they know there's only 290 cases they have documented. I think it happens millions of times.
Yes.
And automatically they just want to cut them out.
Correct.
The worst thing you can do with leukemia tumor, and they know that it presents tumor, is extremely hardcore aggressive.
Yes.
The survival rate is very, very low, but they don't know. The survival rate, I'm living proof that maybe the survival rate would be a lot better if we could get proper diagnosis. So we want people to understand and know that if you get sick, the science of cancer via nuclear fallout, and I don't know how anybody doesn't argues with that it isn't nuclear fallout, because my father dies of the exact same disease I have. His didn't present tumors. He had acute belastic, of course.
Right.
Which, believe it or not, there's this little white band that I wear is a 19-year-old girl named Cheyenne. Oh. She's alive, and she has acute belastic. They used to say it was a 100% death sentence. Now, when I'm doing my early videos, I'm saying it causes acute belastic leukemia, which is a 100% death sentence. That's what my dad died of. There's a girl alive in our hospital that has it.
Maybe it's changed. She's changing.
I mean, she's been through hell and back 9 million times. I mean, you see that picture with that girl who's naked and she's got her hands over her nipples and everything. She's so beautiful.
Yes.
That's her.
No, okay.
That's her, Cheyenne. And she took a lot of shit for doing those photo shoots. But I was really supportive. And then, of course, her little friend from Chernobyl, who's gone now, when I did that one hanging out of my chest, she was going to put Band-Aids over her nipples and do it naked in, support of Femme Man and Pussy Riot.
Yes.
She died 4 days before it happened.
Oh.
But, talk about yours a little bit, Jill.
Mine was called Isolate of Langlin. It's the same cancer that Steve Jobs had. It involves both the pancreas and the liver. Survival rate extremely low, like 5% for 5 years, and less than that at 15, almost none.
Yeah.
I got real lucky because the tumor in my pancreas, unlike Patrick Swayze, now I don't know where Steve's was, but Patrick's was down in the tail of the pancreas. Mine was up at the head of the pancreas near the common bile duct. And as a result of doing coffee enemas, I was able to get my tumor fell out of the head of my pancreas.
So you use coffee enemas?
I use coffee enemas,
wow.
Yes. But what I was also discussing with one of our friends, Stacy Anderson, she was talking about her mother's cancer. Last night we were talking about you and I and about us and the talk and spending these last few days together. And she was saying that her mother, when she got sick, she died in 17 days in the hospital from diagnosis to death. But she had a real young, brand new oncologist come see her, and Stacy was there, and he said, I don't want to start chemo, you're not strong enough, I want you to do diet, I want to do a couple of things, and he got her eating well, and she was doing well in the hospital, and then a bigwig oncologist came in and just dissed this young guy and said, well, what are we going to do with this woman? I mean, and put her on chemo immediately and radiation, and she was dead in 5 days.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people need to know this. In my case, because I've taken a lot of shit because I've taken contemporary medicine as far as the heavy chemo.
Right.
But in AML, leukemia, it's extremely radical and extremely aggressive.
Right.
It can kill you in days.
Right.
I had no other option, absolutely no other option. They couldn't try to wait, and I was already healthy, but I mean, they have to go in now because these tumors, they're free radicals. That's what I like about Thomas Ackerman using his free radical gig line before. I mean, it's all laying in us. It's all laying in every one of us. We're born with it, and something triggers it. I think Fukushima triggered mine. I really do.
Yes.
I think
there's no doubt.
And I live on the same parallel, but for mine to present in tumors and push away from my bone marrow in the inception, I think it's a giant curse or a giant blessing. In most cases, it's a giant curse because it's misdiagnosed, and then they gut you. It's over. As soon as you have that surgery, it's done because they have to chemo you. Your neutrophils go to zero. Blah 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 blah. Right. But I want people to know this, and I don't tell a lot of people this. Yeah, I went through 3 rounds of the heavy chemo. They wanted 5, and then they automatically bone marrow transplant. Medicine is behind the curve on this disease.
Yes, it is.
I got lucky to get Fimbo Peterson at LDS and Vincent Hansen, who was he was business partners with my famous uncle, the famous heart surgeon, who didn't even like me. Me and him's ways. You know, he was a goody Mormon.
Yeah.
Thomas. And he put a lot of work into my case. The pathologist had dipped mine into the wrong solution.
Yes.
And there's another thing
Yes. The wrong diagnosis kills more cancer
the pathologist.
than anything else.
So when you get sick, if you're
Right.
not feeling well, you need to be, you know, I have 3 or 4 young oncologists, well, surgeons, that if, you know, I've been telling my attorney the whole time, they better hope I die because I get better, I'm going to kick their ass.
Yes.
I really
Oh,
are.
I know.
I mean, I fought with these punks, these arrogant little punks, and it was an old man, Dr. Hansen, who's a brilliant 75. He saved my life. I mean,
He didn't believe the younger doctors.
He didn't.
Yeah.
And well, and then he went with me because I went in and I already had all the knowledge because I was on the internet. I found a YouTube video with 14 views of a pathologist talking about right mesentery tumors in the right mesentery of the male. For some reason, these tumors like to present in the right lower mesentery
Yes,
in
they
males.
do. Yes, they do. That's right around the common bile duct. You've got your gallbladder, you've got your liver, your pancreas.
Well, he said in it, he says these guys get it wrong. He says it's so tough to
Right.
figure out what these tumors
Right.
are, and they'll go to the carcinoid thesis all the time because it's the easiest thesis. And he believed that most of the time it's not carcinoid,
Yes.
that it's leukemia tumors. And so it happens all the time. Now, I had a friend, really close friend named Fleb Brer 3 years ago. Same thing, blah, 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 in its lower right mesentery. Slow growth cancer, like they were telling me,
Right.
oh, you're okay, blah, 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 blah.
We'll wait and see. We'll just give it away.
It reared back and killed him in days.
Yes.
I mean, when these things attack, these free radical cells, they get in your lower spine, they have minds of their own. And they're trying to kill the other cells. And they're fat. And they get into your brain stem. That's why they go into your, they give you the lumbar puncture and inject all the chemo into your lower
Right.
spine. But what I did, a lot of people don't know this. What I did, because there was a guy named Brian Morris, who they'd sent home to die, who had actually had the surgery. He's the only one we know on earth who actually had the surgery and is alive and well. 105 temperatures, ice bathing him for weeks, and he's militant like me.
What
You
did
ought
they
to see
do?
him.
Did they whipple suction, take part of his stomach out, take that whole...
No, they just went in and they found the tumor laying on the outside. It was on the outside because leukemia tumors don't present inside.
Correct. They're usually on the lumens.
De
the
novo,
lining.
yes, on the liner. I had what you call bowel looping, and then I had a satellite tumor here and here. And so, and I was in perfectly good health. I mean, incredible health the day I got sick. From perfectly good health to radically
Didn't you
ill
think it was like
in
stomach
one day.
or food poisoning
I thought
or
I had
something?
food poisoning.
Yes,
Then
okay.
they scoped me and blamed it on an ulcer. But anyway, so we walked on. He's alive, and that's why I'm alive. He
Yes.
started coming into my room. He's like me. I mean, he's so militant. He's so tough. He's so mean. You know, he don't take no shit from nobody.
Yes,
and
that
he,
is why the
he eats a lot of rough.
Constitution-
I mean,
It
our
is.
paths are similar. So, Dr. Fimble Peterson, he says, Kevin, and he's a rock star in oncology. He's set up there for a reason. 40 years. He says, you're a rare on top of rare. I've never seen, so you've got to be the pioneer. And
Yes.
so they bought, the only way they really know with leukemia, the only way they have to bone marrow biopsy you.
And you have not had that.
I've had many bone marrow biopsies over and over. They go into my hip.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
I've had multiple, and they hurt their whole, but
Yes.
the last one
It's the transplant you haven't done yet.
No.
Right. Okay.
So what happened last April 24th, I was set up for a transplant.
Okay.
Off the donor list. It's important that young people, I mean, we rely on these young females because that's who, you know who donates their bone marrow? Who does it?
Yes,
Young girls.
Yep.
Because we're a bunch of self-indulged, egotistical, baby boomer assholes who don't
Yes.
care.
And
They
we didn't
care.
take care of ourselves either.
Well, yeah, they don't want our bone marrow. Who wants it? They don't want our contaminated
No.
bullshit. So I was a young girl from Manhattan that was my match.
Wonderful.
And so I'm all scheduled for it. And then the last bone marrow biopsy, they're like, God, your bone marrow is pretty damn clean.
Yeah.
And so they're like,
I'm so glad.
They don't
Are you?
you?
Usually stop something.
And
that's
usually
already
they're,
paid for.
yeah, and automatically. This is a team effort. It's Danish philosophy.
Yes.
I have 7 doctors.
That's why they get reined in. The wild.
Did you know they have what they have rounds? Did you know my nurses don't? The nurses don't outrank the doctors in our hospital. Our doctors don't outrank nurses.
It should be the other way.
Nurses have just as much say as the doctor does in there.
Good.
They bring in the maids in there.
And so
They
what
bring
does
in
he
the
say?
food servers in there.
What is he eating?
Everybody.
What is he not eating?
Well, they want it because we're having conversation. They want to know everything about you.
Mm-hmm.
They know everything about me. They watch my videos. They do everything. They were against a lot of the stuff I did with the central line hanger.
Right.
You know, but Fimbo Peterson's like, you go.
Yeah. Well, now they're
And,
looking at it. It's working. It's what's saving
well,
you. The
Dr. Mitchell,
walking-
she come up here, and I absolutely love her. She's from Long Island. I love her. You know, and she comes out, she says, you know, she's so proud of me, and she gives me so much encouragement. Now she's really a big fan of mine, and I am of hers too. They saved my life, but
Yes.
they gave me encouragement. They used nothing but love in that hospital.
Yes.
I mean, they're nurses. If you're a militant, you know, nurse, you know how some of them can be. They're gone. They don't put up with them.
Yeah.
They're the most loving, beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, they come in there and pep rally you.
They were
and-
massaging you, rubbing
Yes.
you, encouraging
I mean,
you.
I remember what's her name in the middle of the night crawling up on my freaking back, tickling my hand when I'm critical, going in and out,
Yep.
saying prayers for me,
Yes.
doing everything
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
That's the way they play in there because they know it's so radical. And
That's
none
right.
of those nurses ever quit. They watch death over and over and over and
Yeah.
over and over and
They're
over.
angels, that's what they are,
They are
in my
angels.
opinion. There's one thing that concerns me, though, is that they saw my tumor, and before it was a tumor, in July of '08, and they said they called it a cyst. And they said they found it on a CAT scan. I drove myself down to the local hospital, was there all night. Similar story to you. I pretended I had a ride. They gave me a lot of medications for pain. And then, anyway, they said what we're going to do is we're going to watch this cyst. And they did exactly that. They watched it for a year and a half bloom into
I think it kills so many people.
Multi-organ cancer. And you know what? I have really come to believe, in my own opinion, that cysts are precancerous
Yes.
tumors.
Of course.
There's, yeah.
Well, now
I
listen.
mean, they're acidic.
I
they're-
think people need to know this. And this is where the common fallacy is made in cancer diagnosis, and I think people fall for it. There is no magic solution, you know, whether your diet, blah, blah, blah. I've used extreme. I mean, I'll write a book about it one day, and I'll talk
Me too.
about what I've done as far as, you want to talk alternative? I like these guys, you know, smoke some weed, do this. I'll blow your minds on some of the things that I do. And, you know, that I've done, and I've invented myself. I use the sun. The sun, I'll line it up where the tumors were, and I'll stand naked there.
Yes.
I have some feathers from some very precious type of birds. A hawk killed these 2 doves in my front yard last year. I used the feathers off them.
See,
I do a
this is
lot of really spiritual
Yes.
type stuff.
Awesome.
I'm so spiritual on this fight that it would blow people. The walking meditation, you
Yes,
know, that's
yes,
the monks. That's
yes.
what I do.
Oh, yes. You have to do the shotgun approach to cancer. These people
Well,
who say
you
just
have to
do-
listen to yourself.
You do. Your
Yes.
body knows how to heal
And you have to
cancer.
fight.
Yes.
You have to fight. And the thesis that I think, this is just me, we're finding out now that a lot of people that have unnecessary surgery, like back surgery, knee surgery, end up dying of cancer
And
3-4
yanking
years.
everybody's gallbladder. We need
Yes.
our gallbladders.
Okay, so you have an unnecessary, and my theory is on. We're finding out people that have back surgery. Paul had back surgery.
Yes.
We talked about this.
I had 3, and you get sick with cancer
It
within
triggers.
A minute. Oh, it absolutely
It triggers because it's all
Yes.
anus and it seeds
Yes.
it.
It does.
So quit having all these unnecessary surgeries.
Correct.
You know, even plastic surgery, breast implants. We're finding out women in their 40s that are going in and having plastic surgery and plastic are coming up with all kinds of cancers
Yes, yes,
within 2-3
yes.
years.
They're even finding out that test tube babies are coming down with cancers and all kinds of immune
So quit doing that
problems.
to your
Correct.
system. Start working on yourself. And this lazy attitude that we've had, it's got to stop. You can't take a pill. You've got to do the work.
Correct.
You've got to
No
do the
one's
work.
gonna
And
fix you with a
I'm a
pill.
big believer in no surgery. Surgery at the last. I mean, now breast cancer, yes, automatic. You
Yes.
better get that breast cancer
I
and get
agree.
them cut off.
Whack it off. Whack
Yes.
it
You
off.
it's your only
no
option.
lumpectomy, whack it
It's
off.
sad that you got to go to there, but I mean, how sick of a society do we live?
That you
We're
would
willing to
rather
have
your
nuclear
boobs-
energy.
Or a husband who says, I want you to have a lumpectomy because I've had a next door neighbor who died at 38. And she was very large and he had a stack of Playboys. And I mean, that was their whole
Yeah.
gig.
Yeah.
She's dead. She has
Yeah.
2 babies.
There you go. There you go. It's sick. It's vanity.
It is.
And our vain, sickening generation that we've lived. I mean,
Yes.
we're disgusting is the way we've
It is.
evolved. What we've gotten to the post-ignorant generation, like what we've done. The people under 35 ought to knock the shit out of us. They ought to load us up, and put us in FEMA camps. That's where we belong. Because
If
what
they
we've
don't,
done to
they're gonna-
them.
If they don't, they're going to wind up.
Look
there
what we've
because
done
of
to
us.
'em.
I know.
I mean, look at the debt. Look at because we want wars we don't want to pay for. We want freaking to take a pill we can cure cancer,
Right.
but in the end,
We have no
now that we're getting older, when we get
Delayed
cancer, and
gratification.
you think you're going to do that, you're not going to live. You're not going to live.
No.
So I tell everybody, avoid all these unnecessary surgeries and don't trust these oncologists. Find one who cares about you.
Right.
Find one. Lie to them if you got it. Go in there and say, hey, tell them you got $1 million stashed under the house in gold coins or whatever. Tell them you got something because, it
We
still
saw
comes
what
down.
They did to you when they thought you were
Had
a
no
pauper.
insurance.
Yeah, they were like you were just going to get nothing, sent home.
Oh, I did get
they
nothing.
They didn't even think you were in pain.
Yeah, they sent me home. I'm laying out in the emergency room, laying on the grass. My daughter picked me up, almost dead. But, you know, and then I went plopped down my stock portfolio. And then Dr. Hansen got involved, who's, you know, he's a loving, kind, beautiful
Yes.
man. I got lucky with him. And he cared about me, and he dug in. I mean, he had tears in his eyes that day. I go see him all the time, hugging. He's a legend in our town, by the way.
Awesome. Beautiful.
You know, he's friends with our family. And, you know, I have Danish bloodlines, and it's Danish philosophy of medicine. And then here's Finbo Peterson from the same town my bloodlines come from, northern Denmark. And same with Vincent Hansen.
Everything's coming
And it's
full
Danish
circle.
philosophy medicine. And in Danish philosophy medicine, they have the best medical system in the world.
I've heard that.
I mean, because doctors really, we don't put them up on pedestals over there. They don't rank much higher than the other people. It's, you know, they're in medicine for the right reasons. And they
Right.
use preventive medicine. Nurses come to the
Oh, they do.
houses.
They absolutely do. They're
Before-
a lot more holistic also, and they're much more savvy about nutrition. They're much more savvy even about stress. And, you know, here, I mean, I have 3 friends who died of cancer in the last 8 months back in California. And, I mean, I went toe-to-toe with them because I would tell them, you need to do this, you need to do that. And they'd go to their doctors, and their doctors would say, no,
Well,
do not take
you're a
any of
lot
this."
like me in that way. You're as hard-headed as they
I
get,
am.
militant. You've been so mad at me. I met you via Stacy Anderson on YouTube, and you've gone at it with me, called me every name in the book 10 times. You know, it's like, God, is this my ex-wife? And so, but that's why I think, I mean, to be alive with the type of cancer that you have, you're rarer than me as far as survive. There's a few people that have survived this. You're the only person that I've ever met. You know, one of my doctors was Steve Jobs' doctors.
You
And people
said that
think,
last night.
and Steve Jobs really, he was an arrogant prick, you know, and look how militant he was. He wouldn't shake your hand, he was a germaphobe, he was vegan his
all
whole
the
life,
way.
and he thought his money would save him.
Yes.
They threw the kitchen sink at him. He had 2 liver transplants.
That's why
he had
died,
experimental
in my
pancreatic
opinion.
cancer.
I think with his lifestyle, I think without the surgery,
He was too militant.
He was too militant.
You could be over the top with it. I mean, what's the old Masonic theory, you know? And I'm not a Mason. A lot of people think I am. I write a lot about them. I always say the country was a lot better off when they ran the country.
Yes.
Because what is their motto?
You know,
Justice and moderation.
Yes, moderation. I was going to say all things in moderation, but you're right. It was justice.
You be aware, but don't be a nut. Don't be.
Right.
Right. I mean, enjoy your life,
Right.
for God's sake.
Well, it's like people who get so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good.
Yeah. But I have got people coming up there, and you know, I always go back to Russell Means. I go back to it over time, and people get back. An African American guy came to me and he says, "Well, I'm black," and I says, "You're right. I can't understand your thesis." By the way, the Million Masked Man March, he's half black, John,
Yes.
and he and I have these conversations. He's great, by the way. He's just a young guy, but I've helped him along the way with this thing, you know. And so that's tomorrow, but
Beautiful.
how can I relate to that type of thesis? I can't. I'm a middle-aged white male from Utah, you know, and so I
Yeah,
can't
there's
go
a
there.
difference.
But Russell Means goes back, way back. You know, when he talks about this was heaven on earth, he's going way back before the white man was in the West. Now people think, oh, that was hundreds of years ago in the East, but not in the Western United States. When I grew up, I mean, the Indian thesis was very still new. That's why Stegner landed there. So we've lived it, and you know, the Indian people. The indigenous people will
Oh, my
still
God.
tell you it wasn't that long ago. We
Right.
had heaven right where you live,
Oh,
Kevin.
absolutely. You
I
can
mean, the
drink from
Navajos and the
main
Utes.
street. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No jails. Russell Means says there were no jails. There was no disease.
No
There's
locked
he says
doors.
you Anglo-Saxons want to keep finding a way to heaven. You ruined it. We had heaven. You took heaven. Heaven was here.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I get these other people will say this is hell and bullshit.
Yes.
I really love life.
I know. And that one where you were in, I believe it was when they were going to do the bone marrow transplant. You're in and you do you go almost into a trance about how much you love the earth. You were talking about
I
the
do
blue
love the
heron, the way you were raised up on your father's knee. You go into a trance state in
Yeah.
that. I have sent that one video to everyone I know, and I say your life scope will change if you watch this video. I've never seen anyone grieve, and yet you weren't crying. You were giving a testimony to the beautiful earth that we had. We did have
Oh, I
heaven
grew
on
up in
earth.
such a romantic city
You
out on
did.
the edge of that lake, and I had a strong Marine father who loved the earth, and
Yes.
you know, they were activists. My parents and my uncles, my uncle just passed away, all of them, they believed that it was your civic duty to take on human rights causes, and they took them all on.
Yes.
You know, and these were, you know, hard-working, you know, my grandpa, Abraham Hunsaker IV, I mean, he had money too, but they were working-class guys, hardcore, and they took on, they believed that that was your it was your exchange for the gift of life.
Absolutely.
You get a gift of life, you have to give back for that gift.
That's right. And the indigenous people, the Council of Elders, got together in October and did a beautiful paper. I should send it to you and you can put it on your link. But you know, the line that I took from it, he goes and says very much what you're just saying, but he said, that's our mother's milk. You wouldn't poison your mother's blood.
Yeah. I love that. It's
and that's
so
what
true.
we're doing.
That's what we've done.
That's what we've done.
You know, we went so far, and it's been so grotesque what we've done. And, you know, I always use Hamlet, O curse despite that I was born to set this right. You know, I have Danish bloodlines, and I used to say that when I was a kid. I'm living in the country and western version of Hamlet. Wow. You know, because I'm an artist, and, you know, I didn't really get it. But when my dad died, this beautiful, incredible man with his mind on fire like a grass fire when he was dying. And when they loaded him in the body bag, I was so pissed. I was so outraged. And I vowed, no way, I will fight these guys to the death. And that was long before I ever got leukemia, long before Fukushima ever happened.
Well, that's why you're
and so
all in. I've never met anyone all in.
Oh, I am all in.
I know you are.
I've given up money. I've given up relationships.
I've
given
never
up.
seen anything like it. You are nowhere near the man you are on the videos. I mean, you are, and yet you're not. Absolutely incredible, gentle, and you're all in. I mean, this is death will not stop you.
No, and that's why we have to be, because I've watched the fight and we failed. So I've taken a different angle on my videos because I have to grab a hold of you guys and shake everybody
you have
up.
To, because I was not all in. I'm still not. If I get a tummy ache, I don't show up.
Yeah. Well.
But I will now.
It's fight or die.
No, I'm. This
but and I want to show the way too for my children and grand. You know, people can say whatever they want. When I say I gave up on the baby boomers a long time ago, I'm speaking in the aggregate, of course.
Right.
I did.
Right.
I really expect my videos to be watched years from now by their generation.
Yes.
And they'll say, hey, they weren't all a bunch of self-indulged, no good pricks.
Right. That's
there was
right.
a few that actually tried, and
That's
you know,
right.
because we didn't get this to us. Our parents handed us freaking the economy and everything on a
Fairy
silver
tales.
platter.
Well,
yeah, we lived in a fairy tale.
We did.
We had it so made. Look what we've handed them. And then we say, oh, go get a job.
Well, why aren't you working?
Yeah, we took all your jobs. We sent them to China. We stripped all your money. We poisoned the earth. We freaking warmonger.
That's right.
And then we freaking militant to them. Shit, I remember when we graduated from high school, it wasn't which career, or what career, which career.
That's true.
No debt, full employment,
Yep.
freaking, yeah, granted nuclearism was going on, but I give them a break because they didn't know back then. I mean, they were learning.
Right.
But that ended on April 26, 1986.
Yes.
You know, and then when the atomic veteran studies come out,
Yes.
there's no excuses now.
Oh,
We
no,
know
I
it.
agree with you.
Forbes
Last
comes
night,
out.
Yeah, Chernobyl should have changed everything. We should have shut nuclear down from that. Absolutely.
Well,
If there
these
had been any real
journalistic
studies-
whores like
Right.
Forbes who come out today, cancer hasn't killed Rayleigh this morning. I mean, that's the thing we're up against, these wealthy things, because they think are above. Again, they're not above it. Steve Jobs. I think so many of them are going to die in the next decade, you know, and I don't want, I'm the type of person, I don't want anybody to die of cancer.
No, I don't either.
I don't even want, you know.
But we do want people to have consequences, and it gets pretty frustrating when you see the
They need to be in
elite.
jail.
Yes, and they can break all the laws and whatnot. It'll be nice to
Now,
see.
I'm headed over right now to the
go.
Department of Energy. That's where I'm going right now. They broke ranks yesterday.
They did.
And America's going in, and they're here, and I just happen to be in D.C., and they're meeting at the Department of Energy today and coming up with the plan. The U.S. is going in.
Yes.
It took 968,
69 days.
69 days.
Yep.
But, all right, I'll close this out so I got enough juice left.
Yay.
But thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping me out,
Kevin.
doing everything you did. I love all you guys so
Thanks
much.
for coming with us and coming here.
Right on. Thanks, Jill.
You bet.